So these two panels tell the story of Goditha of Canterbury, and she was a woman who had very swollen legs, and so she was lame and unable to walk on her own. Now the first panel shows no less than 6 women together, and no other panel in the Miracle Windows has so many women. So it was thought that this must be a nunnery. Why else would you have so many women together? But in fact, what we've been able to prove is that this is actually a local street scene in Canterbury, with Goditha's friends and neighbors and relatives helping her to the tomb. If you look closely at this panel, one thing that's really quite interesting is that Goditha is standing on the dress of a woman and on her foot. And this comes directly from the Miracle Collection in terms of how this story is told. It's said that she was supported by the feet of others, not her own. And the glaziers took that quite literally by having her stand on someone else's foot. Another wonderful thing about this panel is the way the women's hands are all in very different positions, ushering her to the cathedral, helping her come in, and then supporting her as she walks then to the cathedral and Becket's tomb. Now the composition of this first panel is really interesting. What we have are 2 doorways, and then the woman moving in between those doorways. And this miracle happened very early on in Becket's cult, so early that people had to go secretly to Becket's tomb. So what you're seeing here is her secretly going through the streets of Canterbury from her home to the cathedral. And we know that she must have walked in the streets around this cathedral and would have known them well. So I often think about Goditha when I'm walking around Canterbury now, and the other people in the Miracle Windows, like the feverish Etheldreda, the paralyzed William of Dane, and Henry of Fordich. All of them would have known these streets well and would have walked along the same streets as we do today to get to the cathedral and to Becket's tomb. So Goditha is wearing a loose headdress, and when you look at the other women on the panel, you can see the contrast. So other women have these quite tight headdresses on, or they aren't wearing any at all, whereas she has a loose headdress and her hair is flying down both sides of her neck. And we think that this is meant to show that she's ill. So many of the ill women in the Miracle Windows are wearing this loose headdress. So on the second panel, we have 2 scenes in one. On the right, you see 3 figures standing over the tomb, and what they're doing is that they are mixing up the blood and water medicine that's going to be used to cure Goditha's swollen and lame legs. And what's really striking about this is that we've got a woman standing in the center holding the bowl in which the water is being poured and the blood is being scooped. And she has a spoon and she's really vigorously stirring it all up. And then on the left, what we see is Goditha with that same loose headdress is sitting with her leg inside a bowl, and that has the blood and water mixture in it, and she is being washed with that by a woman kneeling before her and looking right into her eyes. So in the case of these 2 panels, what the glaziers did was to take one rhyming Latin inscription and split it into 2. So we have the first half on the first panel and the second half on the second. Now, this inscription was quite badly messed about with earlier restores, and we have had permission to correct it. And what you're seeing here is the corrected version, but before it's all secured back within the panel. So now we can read this inscription as it was meant to be read. And what it means is, washed with the water with blood, the ill woman is made well. And that, of course, is exactly what we see happening on these panels.